one of the things that I wanted to touch on is you mentioned some people who may be white on the left that have found some identity with someone like Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated a couple weeks ago. And I saw and reacted to your video with Zedjelani, and I was frustrated, to say the least.
He's not even white.
Well, here's the thing. Internalized white supremacy is a thing. And some people who even look like us have it. With that being said, how do you feel like how do you feel is the best way for those of us who may be Black on the left or marginalized on the left to convey to others who may be in a more privileged position that it's almost like they have to have a come to Jesus moment in a certain way, where it's like, as the Ancient One in Doctor Strange said, it's not about you. How do we do that in such a way where it doesn't make them feel defensive, but makes them feel, oh, wait, we have to get out of our own way so that everybody can have liberation?
I don't know. I don't think that there's much. I don't think those people are going to be persuaded. And I don't think it's really a good use of our time. I think the reality is that's why you have to have, as much as the white left really doesn't want to prioritize identity politics, and maybe they shouldn't, but we have to. Because at the end of the day, just like we're always trying to persuade Democrats to be willing to withhold their vote for the Democratic Party in order to get them to listen to them, closed mouths don't get fed. I don't think we'll persuade anybody to care about our interests, to care about Black lives. I think if they want us to be a part of the coalition, then they have to provide X, Y, and Z. But I don't know that I think it's particularly useful to try to persuade folks to understand the inherent sort of diminishment of Black people that is embedded in a lot of their opinions. Like it was nothing new after Charlie Kirk. The phenomenon of having well-meaning non-Black people, and I don't think it's white. It's because everybody thinks they're better than Black people. I don't enjoy saying that. It doesn't make me feel good to say that. But I've just seen this play out for my entire life.
It's a hard truth.
Everybody think there's a hierarchy, and everybody thinks they're better than Black people. And liberals are people who think it's impolite to say that they think they're racially superior to Black people, or who will allow that there's some kind of socioeconomic driver of disparity. But at the end of the day, the reason why, something racist will happen, and then a bunch of well-meaning liberals will say, but I don't understand why this is racist. And then you'll just swap out the word Black with literally any other race, and suddenly they can see the racism. That's because they didn't see it when it was Black, because they believed it to be true. The racist statement felt true and unobjectionable when it was Black people implicated in it. And it's the same with Charlie Kirk. It's like the same people who were happy that Jordan Neely was killed on the subway, even though he didn't lay a finger on anybody, and who thought Daniel Penny was justified in killing him. They don't call that murder, right? They don't say, I joked when I was recording with streaming with Leslie Lee III the other day. He said something funny about, are people, as we're calling it, to write an article about how Assata Shakur did politics exactly the right way. And I was like, I have to steal that. I'm going to tweet it out. And I did. And there were a bunch of people who responded but Assata Shakur murdered somebody. And I know that that's disputed, and, I'm not, but even conceding that point, they don't care that Daniel Penny murdered somebody. They don't care about all the people that get murdered in wars. They don't care about all the murders that they think are justified in the lives of the killed that they don't think have value. George Zimmerman murdered somebody. All these people murdered somebody. and they're celebrated. What does Kyle Rittenhouse murdered 2 people, 2 white people, and it doesn't matter. So that's a long-winded way of saying I'm not especially optimistic. I mean, there's right-wing racists that are what they are, but there's also, like, as we saw, liberals, leftists, and our peers who kept saying explicitly, I see myself in Charlie Kirk. And the sympathetic read of that is, okay, they're also pundits, so they're quite literally professionally situated along Charlie Kirk. But I'm sorry, I'm a pundit. That doesn't occur to me. You can say, yeah, I don't want to get killed the way that nobody wants to get killed, without explicitly identifying with him in that way. I frankly don't even. I mean, we've been watching all of these journalists get killed in Palestine, and while certainly the leftists have been, covering that and upset about that, I don't know that I've heard the leftists who said, I identify with Charlie Kirk, say, I see myself in those Palestinian journalists in the same way. They're sad about the Palestinian journalists, but they're not somehow seeing them. Those people have kids. Those people had dreams. Those people had a certain way they like to make their coffee in the morning. Those people are living their lives with the same value and import as you do in Charlie Kirk. But I think everyone has to really sit with why. Like, it's an uncomfortable realization, but people have to really sit with why they are, like, particularly moved when someone who is affluent, someone who is white, someone who is quote unquote supposed to be safe from these things is killed, versus someone who's, should never have really bet on having much of a life anyway, because we're used to people like X, Y, and Z getting killed.
I'm sad that I agree. It hurts, because the thing is, it's like, if you see yourself in someone like who has an ideology or a view like that is a lot of internal work you have to work past. And one thing I think it is important for people who are white on the left to realize, and some people may go, well, we got to just focus on class. We got to just focus on class. I'm going to tell you this right now. Back when the AFL was in its early stages in the early 1900s, they were discriminatory towards Black workers. They were a union. And it took the CIO to welcome Black workers in, for Black workers to actually have a union, because to the white members of the AFL, Black workers were being paid less, which means undercutting the wages of those Black workers. If it was all about class, then they should have been united completely together. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And here's a hard truth that some people especially people who are white on the left, have to realize, that there are subclasses within the working class. I bet you, everybody who's watching right now, if you can safely, close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, I'm going to say one thing, and I want you to note immediately the first thing you think of. Working class. Did you picture a white man in a hard hat? You didn't picture a Black woman that's working as a barista? You didn't picture somebody that has blue hair, that's working behind the counter at Wendy's with a septum piercing? The problem is that a lot of times we treat part of white supremacy and capitalism, in my view, is that it puts one group as the default over everybody else. You have to be brave enough to not be the default. That's what I think. And the problem is that a lot of times they'll say, we see ourselves in Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I would also add that I think that a lot of the folks identifying with Charlie Kirk, I mean, like Zed, for instance, he's not white, but I do think it's a class. I think that identification was in part on class lines, right? And to the extent that I share a class with Charlie Kirk, I mean, I wish I had all those millions, but never mind. But to the extent that I, broadly share a class with Charlie Kirk, maybe my failure to identify with him is because of my race, but other people who don't have something to interrupt that sense of identity along class lines, like I think that it's both that's driving people, because people who love and care about Palestinians don't talk about them in the same way, because they're occupied population with limited resources prior to October 7th, obviously, and it's not the same. I think people see Charlie Kirk, he uses the same toothpaste as me, he shops at the same store as me, he has kids I think that they really see him as like them, for reasons that include but extend beyond race. And someone like Zed, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to sort of imagine, and I'm not trying to hypothesize about what motivated him to be so reactive in that conversation. But I do think a part of it also is, and this is big with Ezra Klein, a desire to show how willing you are to be gracious towards someone politically different than you, as a way to win credibility with an audience that you're jealous of. And Ezra Klein kept saying this, he's got a great audience. I wish I had his audience. Look what he built. I'm envious. He said, quote, envious of what he built. And this has come out, if you read through some of his recent interviews, Ezra Klein keeps repeating this refrain. And I think it's not quite so crass and basic as, oh, I want to take his audience, I want to get a piece of the pie. But it is I think I will seem like the serious adult in the room. I'm taking seriously the need for Democrats to grow the coalition if I am willing to be gracious to these people in the hopes that they will see me as credible, when, by the way, they won't. But I mean, there are reasons why folks in that audience might be interested in you, but just saying, hey, I don't mind your racism isn't the thing that's going to get them on board. It would be offering them something perspective, like an economic policy.
Yeah.
But we all know that Ezra Klein's never going to do that. So he defaults into, well, if I just pretend that I'm a cool kid too, I'm cool, I can take a joke. I'm cool. It's like a pick me. It's a pick me. They're like a girl. They're like a girl who's I don't have a lot of girlfriends. I prefer to hang out with the guys. They're less complicated. And you're willing to put up with a bunch of misogynistic statements because you think it makes you better than all the other girls. What's that Taylor Swift? She wears short skirts, I wear sneakers. That's what Ezra Klein is doing. And and the sad part of it is it's not even going to work. The shift only goes in one direction. You move to the right to beat them there, and there you stay.
Yeah, and that goes with them into how they view policy, and what's done, to other groups in the United States, or what's absent to help other groups in the United States, and it really goes towards that a side of individualism as well, because somebody like a Charlie Kirk is very individualistic, and it's okay, so you saw his individualism, so is that something that you think that you want to emulate as well? And look where individualism has gotten us. It's gotten us to this very point. That's kind of interesting, because I was watching a video earlier. They were comparing Henry Cavill's Superman in Zack Snyder movie compared to David Cornswell's Superman that was done by James Gunn. And he broke it down. And I don't think this guy is that much on the left, but he broke it down very honestly. And he said that Henry Cavill's Superman was more of an individualistic Superman, versus a David Cornswell Superman is more of a collectivist Superman, able to show his weakness and and his greatest strength is him being a human, versus Henry Cavill's Superman was greatest strength is that he was a god. And so it's like, did they see, like, do some of these guys see themselves within Charlie Kirk because they see that, oh, he was able to be independent by himself and not need anyone.
That's not even true. That's
I know. And that's the crazy part. It's not, but at the same time, it's the fantasy. It's the superhero fantasy. Like, only I can actually achieve these things on my own, which it's a farce, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm hoping that maybe some are listening and they'll take for it and put ego to the side, because one of the biggest things that harms the left, a huge point, is ego. And Asada Shakur actually talked about this very frankly in her book.
What did she say?
She talked about, she actually critiqued the Black Panther Party about misogyny and ego that existed within the party. Did they do many great things? Absolutely. And there's a lot of things that we should emulate. But at the same time, what kills a lot of movements, especially on the left, is ego. And sometimes we think of ourselves more necessary than there is to think. And this also means that we will think that our ideas and our thoughts are better than others, even though the people who may give us a kind critique are on the same side as us. And so this is why I think it's important for us to practice more humility on the left, especially when it comes to people who maybe more marginalized than us. And this doesn't just go, between white and black. This can go between neurotypical, neurodivergent. This can go between cis, hetero, and straight, and LGBTQ. This can be between male and female, many different ways. But we have to see ourselves in the people who may not be exactly like us.
I did see that Ryan went on Van Lathan's podcast with Rachel from The Bachelorette, which I started listening to and I'm kind of enjoying a great deal. And they were getting on him about his Charlie Kirk statements, because I think Van listens to Breaking Points. And he's got his politics are, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He used to be on TMZ, and then he's the one that got in that big kerfuffle with Kanye West. And I think he was like,
I've interacted with him a little bit on Twitter, and he said some stuff. I'm like, oh, he's interesting.
You can tell he's been like getting the lefty education. I think it's in large part because he's watching Breaking Points, but he was frustrated by, Ryan Grove's take on Breaking Points and had him on. And Van and Rachel were like going in on Ryan, like respectfully, but like Van doesn't mince words.
Wow.
And I thought it was a very good comment. I was thinking about asking Ryan on myself, but then I listened to that and I was like, well, Ryan's already gone through the ringer. And I do appreciate Ryan's willingness to submit to those kinds of conversations. Obviously, he and I had one over Force the Vote. But I don't know. This is why I'm like, I don't know that there's really any point in trying to persuade people, because I really like and care about Ryan a lot. But if Ryan is in a position where I don't think that he really grasps this, and he's such an important ally and an important reporter and all of those things, I don't want to diminish him at all. Yeah. Like, is it really worth it? If we can't convince Ryan, then what's the point? Like, and like, if we even have to be in a position to persuade Ryan, like, what is even is this the best use of our time? And like, even, is he going to change? Did he like leave that interview and then like change his perspective? No. Even after, he came on with me and we talked about Force the Vote, and he kind of made some important concessions, but it's not like he went back and was like, actually, yes, Force the Vote was correct, and I'm going to make that known whenever anything like this comes up going forward. So I don't know. Like, at one point, like on one level, it's like we all compliment Ro Khanna for showing up on our shows. But like, at a certain point, like, I think we have to ask ourselves, is he getting more out of like having credibility for showing up that, without ever having to be accountable to the positions that we're frustrated with him over? Like, it's very much a borderline case, and I think it's going to become increasingly unclear as he runs for president in 2028.
Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you'd like to see any more, you can look here. 1.